Hello everyone, and welcome to my Satisfactory factory tour. If you are not here for the Satisfactory factory tour, you are in the wrong video. That having been said, mostly recording this for my friends who are new to the game or haven't played the game and just want to see how I've done some things. Since the game world is, only really subject to change as they produce updates. Most of what I'm about to say is going to be applicable to anybody's game. That having been said, I'm just going to go ahead and say this isn't really scripted. I'm just going to kind of go through, starting with where my factory started when I first started playing, and then I'll just kind of go through the evolution of the structures and sites that I built as I progressed through the game. When I started playing, we were on update 5. We are now on update 6, so there may be some things in here that if you played the game a long time ago, if you're watching this for whatever reason, or if you're watching this like 2 years from when I'm making it right now, there could be some stuff that it's like you're gonna say this doesn't make any sense. That's because the game had mechanics that evolved over time. So we got all the disclaimers out of the way. So this is where it all started. When I first started playing, I didn't really have a super strong grasp of the mechanics. I really just started playing and let the tutorials guide me through the game. As time went on and I got more and more addicted to the game, I started reading stuff on the wiki. I mean, I tried to keep from spoiling myself too much, but, I would look at this. I wanted to see, how certain mechanics worked. So in the initial portion of the game, I hadn't really watched anyone play except for one or two of my friends. So I had really no concept of like putting down foundations, or really even having stuff, lined up on a grid or anything like that. So I just started playing. So this is where it all started. I decided, since I just started in the kind of the default rolling plains or grasslands, whatever they want to call this biome, I just got right to work. I was like, okay, this iron looks good. So I plopped this down, and it just started from here. So I'll actually climb this big pillar over here. Well, when I say climb, I mean check back around it so that you can see kind of how this got laid out. Actually, when I started, the hub is actually, I think that's where I put it down, like the very beginning of the game. That's where the hub went originally. The space elevator was like down there somewhere, but as you can see, we needed to move it to make room for some new facilities. This is how we started out, right? I just was like, okay, we got the ore, then we started smelting, and threw down some biofuel burners, and then you can see I had the copper coming from down there, and then you can't really see it. You can just see it down there. There's some limestone down there. So that was the beginning, and the limestone, you can see it was coming up this conveyor over here. So, I had the basics, right? We had copper and the iron, and it wasn't until right later when I unlocked steel, right, that it's like, okay, we need coal. So the coal is coming from, and you'll see it, but if you're at all familiar with the game, you'll know there's a coal node like way down there, and I just made the mile long conveyor, right, to bring it up, because we didn't have We didn't have nice things like tractors or drones or anything like that. So I just kind of basically started, you know, going from simpler objects right to more complex objects, and I was kind of doing a, you know, a row of something that produces, and then a row of storage, and then a row of something that produces, and then a row of storage, right? And that was working okay. And then, you know, as time went on, right, you had to keep like recombining things, right, to make the different more complicated parts, right, for the space elevator goals, and to make other facilities and items that are just useful for progressing in the game. So as that happened, you know, we started going from just regular constructors up to assemblers, and I kind of had things take a U-turn and come back this way into these assemblers, and then finally I got up to, right, I think these are manufacturers. Yep. And that's when it started getting a little unmanageable, right? Like I had to keep, based on, depending on what it was I was trying to make, I had to keep reconfiguring these conveyors. And I had things in such a way where it's like, okay, I could just peel it back a little bit to some of these stanchions here, and then like redistribute stuff in the proportions that I needed to these different assemblers, and then bring stuff, then make another U-turn and bring stuff back up to the to the manufacturer. So this is about when I decided things needed to be reconfigured. And I will say, right in the course of all this, I had coal plants going, right? Once I had that, right, I was like, okay, we're done with the biofuel burners. So I originally had coal like down here, kind of in this valley. Like down here, and I just brought the water pretty much like this, right? I kind of, when I moved the coal up here, I kind of split this stuff off, and so it's, you know, it's kind of funny. I decided when it was time to rebuild, I just left this stuff running so that I could start construction of this facility, and, you know, with the idea that when it was time, I would just pull the plug on all this stuff and route the power to this thing and get it going. So I had this, you know, grand idea, right? In my naive mind, I was like, okay, now that I got a handle on how things work, and I know how to build foundations, right? We're gonna build one factory to rule them all, and right, but that's all we're ever gonna need, and life is gonna be awesome. So I had this idea. This is where the lizard doggo lives. I don't know if it's in here right now. I had this idea that I was just going to build this giant slab, right? And it was only going to be like 2 stories tall, and all the resources would come into the front, right? And then the resources would go in, they would all go to the smelters and whatnot, and then that would go to constructors, and then same thing as before, right? It'll be like, okay, it all comes in, it all goes to storage, then it all goes to, right, smelters or foundries. And then that will go to storage behind that. And then that will go to right? Secondary construction. So, right, things like, so iron and copper and steel would go to constructors to make, right, beams and plates and rods, right? Copper sheets, wire, all that business, right? And then that we would just keep going. We would just keep going until we got to the end, and there would be assemblers, right? And then life would be wonderful, and we would just have everything that we could ever want. But it turns out, right, there was a lot more to the game than I thought. So I did get as far as, right, you can see I got like circuit boards up here, right? We got encased industrial beams. We were able to do a lot with what we had, but it turned out 2 floors was just not enough. And I mean, could I have kept building further and further back? I could have, but I kind of ran out of real estate here because I hit this like giant rock. I didn't want to, you know, build my building around all these rocks and stuff that you can't demolish. So I was kind of limited in my footprint on this site to this number of tiles, right? So it's like, that's fine, right? We'll just build. If we can't build back, we'll build up, right? So so I did. So now if you come to the back of the factory, there's, right, a ton of the conveyor lifts that go up, right? So I'll just build up and we'll just, right, kind of like I did with my factory in 2 dimensions, right? I was like, hey, we'll just start coming this way, and I did. So then we graduated, right, from encased beams and circuit boards to right, now we're making electromagnetic control rods. We're making computers, right? Supercomputers, heavy frames. All that business, oscillators, right? Radio control units. And then it turned out, yeah, even that's not enough, right? So it's like we had to go a little higher. And then it started to get a little crazy because I needed aluminum for my fellow Americans and Canadians. I'm trying to make batteries and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, I can't do that with what's on site because the aluminum is far away. But before I even really got to that, right, I think I unlocked fuel. So let's take a little field trip to the refinery. Right, we'll be back. And somewhere around here, I got stairs. I should probably find, yeah. I try to make things all cool in the beginning, like try to have, right, like a catwalk that runs the whole width, right, and then it's got stairways that go up and down, and that quickly devolved into chaos, right, because now, you know, I realized this wasn't big enough to do the things I needed to do, so things needed to, like, fill in these spaces, although you can see I've done a passable job of trying to keep a few aisles free that run the length of the building, right, more or less. So I try to work within that framework, and it came out okay. And you can see, right, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have lights, and then I was like, oh, I need like 3 floors above this, so that kind of ended there. But you know, line up okay. It looks cool. Someone complained that I didn't have exit signs, so I put exit signs. So yeah, let's head over to the refinery. As you can see, I have a few friends who joined and either helped or just came to look around. Oh, that's cool. The light lights up. So I had to build a parking lot. So I reserved parking for And I named a bunch of buildings after my buddies, which they appreciate. So I got plenty of batteries in my car. So just get moving. So those of you who have played the game already, you already know where I'm going. I'm kind of just following the route for the tractor. Yeah, I never really, I didn't actually even build the majority of the train tracks. That was my buddy Billion put the track in, and then he actually disrupted my some of my tractor routes, so I actually was like forced to use the train for some of the stuff. But for the refinery, I still use the tractors. This is like right here. It looks better than it used to. This is like the first bridge I ever built across water. That's why you see the route is like the arrows are like embedded in the bridge. That's because originally the bridge was just like at water level. I had no concept of the aesthetics of building a bridge with like a ramp and making it elevated and having railings on it. I had not unlocked railings anyways. I was just using foundations. So. Whoop. Happy little tractor. And so yeah, that, like I said, I was doing this with update 5. So you're gonna see alien creatures around that, like a whole bunch of them were just reinstalled with update 6, and I never cleared them out. So I just so yeah, unfortunately, right, because of the nature of a refinery, couldn't really preserve the original refinery, but I can assure you it did not look anything like this. It was just a collection of stuff and just the same color pipes everywhere, right? Like nothing was organized. This is actually the facility I'm probably most proud of, just because I put a lot of planning into it and put a lot of work into getting the pipes to all follow each other, and everything is set up to be uniform, right? Like all the everything is, excuse me, everything is all perfectly lined up, right? And there's pipes over other pipes. So I guess yeah, I'll just we'll start at the beginning, right? There's 4 oil nodes, right? There's one right here. We just drove by one. That's right over there. I forget how to do the ping. No, that's not. No. Yeah, I forget how to do the ping. I guess I can look up how to do the ping. We'll do it live. You guys are gonna have to watch me go into that thing. Right. Controls, key bindings, ping, alt. Got it. That wasn't too bad, right? Yeah, all right, now I can point stuff out. It's like a laser pointer from Satisfactory. So, right, there's one right there, then you got one right there, and then you got one right there, right? So there's 4 oil nodes. So, I really originally just built my refineries over here. Well, originally they were all over here by that node, and it was just all collected in this area, and it was a giant mess. So yeah, that was, instead of a build side by side and then just disconnect the power and reconnect, this was like a full tear down. So I just accepted that my factories were not going to get plastic and fuel for a while. So I did all this, and I just picked, again, more or less for aesthetic purposes, right? I decided to pump all the oil up into here, pump all my fuel up into here, and then it gravity feeds back down. As you can see, as it comes down here, this feeds the fuel. Now, for a very long time, the power grid did not extend out to the refinery. So I was generating power. The power that I was generating here was just for the refinery, and then any fuel that I was burning for power back at my main facility, I had to truck all that fuel back. You'll see in that minute. But yeah, this came out really nice. I just lined everything up, right? I made a little reservoir for the oil residue. What do they call this stuff? Yeah, heavy oil residue. A little buffer there, right? I have water there for some of the processing the byproducts. And so, right, I got an output rail here, and everything just comes out here, and it just keeps getting combined with everything that comes out. Well, actually, this one is for the polymer resin. The polymer resin comes back in between, through a little gap in the refineries, and then rides this conveyor over here, and then I was originally doing more processing. I had one that was doing rubber and one that was making plastic. I have since retooled stuff, so that is no longer the case. And yeah, one thing that I've done is, you might notice I'm not sinking anything here, so and I'm not sure that was the best idea. I probably should have just ran a splitter off of here and sank the resin. But I actually have this. I have this thing finely tuned so that this thing burns or consumes exactly as much resin as gets produced over here. So then, yeah, this elevated conveyor is where all the products come out. So all the plastic and rubber that gets produced comes out, and it just all gets combined onto this one conveyor, and that conveyor runs back. Right, you can see all the oil residue all combines onto this one pipe, comes out, goes to that reservoir, and then wherever that needs to get redistributed, right, it comes off of the purple pipe. Gray pipe is oil, right? So the oil that comes from every node, right, goes onto this gray pipe, and it gets pumped up the hill into that thing, and then it comes down the other side, and goes on this gray pipe, and goes to everything else. And I kind of break away from that a little down here. You'll see when we come down there. But yeah, I did a lot of tuning. And, right, so you'll see I have some very specific outputs. For certain refineries, so that things don't get all jammed up, so the reservoirs don't drain or get full. And it's never completely perfect, so I do have to check it, but I mean, this thing will run for days before things start breaking down. In fact, hold on. Right, this thing's running at 238.25%. I had to do a lot of math. For those that don't know, by the way, there's a really cool feature. If you like start typing stuff in, right? You can, it's a calculator. It'll do math for you. So you could say like, oh, if I'm processing 1600 of something, and I will have 14 factories, right? It'll tell you exactly what number you need to punch into your factory or refinery or whatever it is, so that all the math comes out right. So that's a great feature. So if you drive down here, you can see I kind of put some more in, and I kind of did mostly the same thing. Where I have some common rails or pipes that come down, transporting fuel and oil. So right, all the residue. You can see this is a little more self-contained. This does not combine with the other oil residue down there. So that's one giant reservoir, right? And then this is another one. You can see I have another buffer down here. But the oil is all connected. You can see the gray pipe goes across the bridge. The fuel is all connected. That goes across the bridge. You can see I made this. This is a common conveyor that everything that has an output just jumps onto this one conveyor, and that actually merges with the other conveyor I pointed out down here, and then that all combines and goes into the truck stop. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, when I made this, I made it just a little bit too short, so you can't get the truck under. So yeah, can't drive a truck over there. Not that you would ever really need to. That's why that's it. Right, you can see I got another little group of refineries here, and same thing, right? They all jump on this common rail. Now, as you can see, I just tapped off of the output. This does not get its oil input. Like, it's not coming all the way down this hill. I was like, whatever, right? It's, it comes off of here on its way to go up. Works just fine. So same thing, right? You follow this conveyor. This conveyor goes way down here. We'll stop over here so I'm not in the way of the tractor when it comes by. And then, let's see. So yeah, we go up here. You can see, right? All the stuff that comes across the bridge meets up with the stuff coming down here, and this is just a very, very busy conveyor, right? It's getting all the plastic and all the rubber. Now you'll notice I got the packaged fuel, right? So we got fuel coming down here, and I tap. I use the programmable splitter here, or the smart splitter, not the programmable one. Those are actually two different things. Use the smart splitter, and I tap plastic off of here. That goes into these guys. These guys make the empty canisters, and then they make the packaged fuel that gets trucked back to my main factory. Then I was just sinking the plastic, the empties, but I actually bring them back now. So when the trucks come back, they've got empties, and they feed them into here, and then that comes out, goes over this conveyor, and have this thing as kind of a buffer, right? So I don't have to have it perfect. I just have to come back, right, every you know, some large number of game hours, I just need to come back here and take a look at this thing to make sure it's not either filled up and backing up all the way back to my factory, or empty, right? And but I have these set up, you know, at some low rate, so they merge in, right? And that's because as the trucks are burning fuel, the trucks and the tractors, and me, right, using the jetpack, those empties are gone, right? There is no empty. It's consumed. It's fully consumed. So I do need to add some number of empty containers back into this little supply chain here. That's just some spares. I'm gonna build myself a nice little office here, a little workshop. Right, just in case I need to craft something. Right, I got a few bins of goodies, right? In case I need to blow something up. Oh, there's the truck. So now you can see. Anyway, right, you can see it's dropping off all the empties. And then this guy's picking up all the plastic and the rubber. And then he sits there for a minute, and then makes his way back. I feel like I had him sit there for some amount of time just because the flow rate, right? The truck gets to be more full, so it's a little bit more fuel efficient that way, instead of having a truck that's only half full driving back and forth. And again, I keep calling it a truck when it's really a tractor, you know that. So that's the refinery. Again, I'm really proud of it, right? I made the bridge look good. I got street lights. Yeah. You can see I kind of made an effort to put a train track in, but I just never hooked it up. It's not in use. So people sometimes ask, why did you put these little? Every once in a while, you're gonna see a bin just randomly sitting up by a tree or something. That's really for two reasons. One is before I put had the tractor paths in, I used that to mark my path. And back in update 5, there was a mechanic where if you had built anything, even if it was just a crate, that would prevent the monsters from respawning. So I did that just to keep this path clear of animals, hostile wildlife. Back right here, and obviously like none of this stuff was here, right? Because the trains are like one of the later things you unlock. I'll take a quick spin. I made a little biofuel gas station for one of my buddies, Zorro. But of course I gave myself a reserve parking spot. But this place is cool. It's off the grid. Extra animal parts from whatever activities I may be participating in. I can just dump them all over here. And then this thing makes like the meats, right? And then that turns the meats into the biofuel, right? Or the biomass. And this thing makes the biomass, the compressed biomass. This thing turns it into biofuel, and then this thing splits off, and So the biofuel comes over here, and you can use this to fuel up any vehicle that's running off of biofuel. And then it also taps off this way, and this place generates power and stores it in the batteries. So this thing all runs by itself, as long as you occasionally put biomass or animal parts in it. But you don't need much. This thing will run. This thing will run for days on what's in it right now. So yeah, I used to have. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Stand by. Truck came back. So yeah, let's take a look at this. Right, so this little guy comes back over here, bangs a U-turn, and same thing here, right? There's two stations, one picks it up and one drops off. So over here, he's dropping off all the plastic and fuel and rubber. And then at this next station, he's picking up the empties. So you can see empties that are coming from where I burned the fuel come all the way back. Or actually, no. The empties from where this thing is unpackaging and then piping it over to the fuel burners. That's putting the again. I used to sink them. So I used to just run it up here to where the sink is, but now I run it back into this truck station, and it brings the empties back so they can get filled back up again. And then, so I used to have, there's fuel burners down there. They used to be like down here, but I had to move them to build my battery factory, which we'll get to in a second. But while we're on the subject of bringing all this stuff back, you can see all the rubber and plastic. I used to split off cloth over here. I no longer do. This is a holdover from the earlier times. Everything comes back. Yeah, I think I might still be making cloth. I must still be making cloth. That's one of the alternate recipes. I think you can make polyester cloth or whatever out of fabric, or sorry, fabric out of plastic. So all that stuff, as you can see, fuel that doesn't go into the truck stop here to keep the trucks fueled up comes this way. So basically, I'm recombining a ton of products. Are all coming into this one conveyor. Just bear in mind, right? That's coming in over here. So I want to try to squeeze myself through that little hole. So use the stairs. Go up the stairs, and here's where it all comes in. And you can see there's silica and other stuff that's actually coming from the train station. We'll get to that in a minute. So all that stuff comes in here, and then I have a bunch of splitters. And when I say a bunch, I mean like a lot of bunch. And I started with just the smart splitters, but then I moved on to the programmable splitters. So all the stuff that isn't processed on site, that stuff gets split off into all of these containers down here. You can see this one's rubber. Fabric, this one's plastic, silica, this one's quartz. Processed quartz. pretty early on is when you do the splitters, you have to be very careful that you don't end up with something that comes back and blocks a splitter that prevents something else from going into the bin. So really every splitter has an overflow output on it. As stuff, you know, you basically only have right, so everything comes in here. And so I say, okay, have the silica and packaged crystal go out, right? So only silica goes out there, a bunch of stuff goes out here. And then I resplit this stuff, and I overflow out the center one, and that goes outside to the sink, right? So that keeps stuff from backing up. So even though this one's further down the chain, I need another overflow that goes out to keep it from backing up to the earlier one and blocking the plastic. And then I got all kinds of other crazy stuff going on. Like fuel has to go all the way down there for another truck stop, which you'll see in a minute, and actually more fuel goes out. It actually goes out the overflow. It's maybe not the most sane way to do it, but fuel actually goes out this way to go into the train station, and you'll see where the train station goes. So talking about quartz, right? You're like, well, where's all this quartz coming from? I haven't seen quartz yet, so we're gonna have to show you where the quartz comes from. Again, if you played the game, done a little exploring in this biome, you know where the quartz is. So yeah, my buddy Botillion, he also made all of these hypertubes, like pretty much all the hypertubes, and it was quite a project. As you can see, I actually kind of enjoyed driving to the different places, but before we do that, yeah, it looks like I parked in a bad spot. I'm gonna move this just so I don't mess up the track. Okay, let's go back up here. And again, I know you're probably seeing some stuff off in the distance, like, oh, I want to see that. Yeah, we'll get to that. So yeah, we're gonna jump in this tube, and it's gonna take us. Yeah, let's bring up the map. It's gonna take us, right? You are here, right? This is this big valley, right? Space elevator is over here. So this hypertube is going to bring us down this valley, and there's like a cave in here, and we go through this cave, and it's going to take us up to where the cave comes out up here. And that's also where the train goes. So we're basically going to be following the train tracks way down there, through the cave, and then up this way. So here we go. Good motion stick. You might want to cover your eyes for a minute. Go down here. Yeah, and it goes right through the poison gas, but fortunately, it doesn't care about that. And this is actually kind of funny. He actually routed the hypertube through. I don't even know how he did this. It goes through the space elevator. That station right there, that was a very late game addition to just pump stuff into the space elevator automatically instead of me having to bring it there manually. Put these signs here. It's like a Burma Shave ad. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up. Oh, we're racing the train. I think the train's faster than us going uphill, but we'll see. Oh yeah, there's a couple spoilers coming up, I guess, if you rate or still haven't done a lot of exploring. So yeah, I should have said that before. If you don't want to know where stuff is because you're gonna do exploring, then cover your eyes. But yeah, this is it's where my uranium gets mined. A little radiation, not too much. Not too much. So I used to have tractors coming all the way up through here, but yeah, the train tracks just screwed all that up. So I ended up having to build a train station. Yeah, this doesn't go up too fast, but it beats walking. I used to drive up and down this thing all the time. But yeah, you can't really do that with the train tracks. It's a weird, busted piece of terrain. I'm sure they'll fix that in update 7. Train beat us by a long shot. It already stopped and delivered its payload, and then it just bangs a U-turn up here. So this is a little like way station here, where the hypertubes connect. I actually built way before he had the hypertubes in. I built this up here. It's not particularly easy, but you can get up like this rock face here. It's actually pretty easy if you have the jetpack, but I think you might be able to do it even without the jetpack. So yeah, again, yeah, let's get up on the roof here. So again, I built this crazy bridge, and I mean this is before, like, I made it look nice with like foundations and stuff like that, but this was just foundation. I mean yeah, the metal foundations going up here. It might have even been concrete before and I changed it, but that's where all the quartz is. So I used to, you know, run this by hand, right? I would just have to hand carry stuff down, and then but once I had the tractors, I used to have the tractors go all the way down that way. They would go down that entire cave and go back to that same truck station, and it was kind of cool. They would all like queue up behind each other, right, with the ones from the refinery. But yeah, when I put the train in, so now all they do is they come down here and dump the quartz and if it's, I don't know if they make silica on site. I think they do. Yep, they do make silica. So there's some raw quartz, some silica, and some processed quartz. And as you can see, empties as well from the unpackager. And again, this power doesn't need to be here anymore. This is a holdover from when I did it all with tractors. Of course, now that I have the train station, the power gets routed up here. So, but you know, this was a nice little remote power station, so I left it running here. So yeah, let's go up here. This is still basically the way it was when I first built it. If I were sly, I would have caught a ride on the tractor, but I didn't. It's too fast for me. Yeah, I don't know why I recorded the... I think there's a reason why the tractor's on the left. It's something to do with I didn't want it, right, to keep it from crisscrossing, and it's just the way the tractor at the truck stop is set up. So yeah, you have to, even though I drive on the right, over here, this is like the other side of the channel. you gotta drive on the left over here. So I put some signs just to keep everybody aware. So as you can see, right, they come over here, they take a right-hand turn, go down. That's why they stay. But yeah, there's not much to it up here. There's just a few quartz nodes. As you can see, again, I used to do this all with biofuel, and it was a pain. But fortunately, right, everything's all connected now. I don't have to do any of that. So this is where I would process biofuel just to keep stuff running. And as you can see, I do some processing on site, but not all of it. I bring some raw quartz down to be reprocessed down at the main factory. So yeah, this is pretty basic. So then we're kind of getting to where we need to talk about drone ports. And to get drone ports, you need batteries. And to get batteries, you need aluminum. So we're gonna go over to where the aluminum processing is. So right, I'm just following the arrows to where. Whoa, man! I almost got run over. Woo! Watch your step around here. Pedestrians do not have the right of way. Train. See, there's a track that goes down here, but we're not using that. That actually goes way out to where, like, Botillion, he was making his own little factory, which we'll see in a bit. We're gonna immediately go to a factory that's named after him, but he didn't build it, I built it. But yeah, in the course of my exploration, right, I started going down here. And you'll see one of the hypertubes. The hypertube, that's the hypertube we came in on. But the other hypertube is going to where we're going now. But I'm just gonna follow the power line. And what I used to do, I would drive down here before the hypertube was in, and I would make a right down here somewhere. This takes us to, this is where I would drive up. This is where Botillion's bauxite bonanza is. Whoops, does that thing say? Oh man. Hold up. We got some, yeah. Hold on. Whoops. Oh! That's okay. Okay. Well, that was exciting. Take all these. We can turn this into biofuel. This is some future biofuel we got. All right. Where was I? Yeah. Never know. Never know. So, yeah, Botilion's Bauxite Bonanza, a wholly owned subsidiary of Frobozz Industries. It's right here. So if we step in here, this is where I process aluminum. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yeah, there's a door that takes us out. Yep. So right, that's where we came in. Just step down here. This is where the bauxite comes in. And process bauxite. You need water. So I just got a little. Just so happens there's like a river right here. Water extractors, and like I said, this thing was fully off-grid, so I had coal in here. Actually, I think this was running off the fuel, but I must have been trucking coal up in here, because you need coal to process the you need coal and silica. So coal and silica right now comes in by drone. I might have even been hauling it up like by hand. But so I had coal going out. Extra coal was just going out to the coal plants. That's all that's out there is coal plants. Water comes in here, bauxite comes in here, we start processing it, then we get the alumina solution. The solution comes in here, we get the aluminum slag or whatever this stuff is, right? Aluminum scrap. And then we process that into aluminum ingots. This way and turn into aluminum casings, and that is for battery production and only for battery production. See, we have some packaged aluminum solution. I believe that's also for battery production. We'll see that in a moment. So all that stuff goes out to this drone port. Again, I had to kind of bootstrap the battery production before I was able to have drones, because you can't have drones without batteries. So as you can see, the batteries are not being produced here. I have plenty of aluminum, but there's no batteries, and that's because I needed sulfur and other things to do the battery production. So I do the battery production back across the street as it is. From my base, main base factory. This is a nice little self-contained facility. And yeah, it's set to, it's getting a little bit more of everything that it needs. So I do have a sink here. You can see I got some extra coal. I think I can get some, I don't know if I get extra silica, but if I do, on a splitter as well. Right? Overflow goes out, goes up here. To the sink. That way nothing backs up. Right? Because I have multiple items coming in. Right? I have both silica and coal. And right, if one of these backed up to this splitter, wasn't sending overflow out, then right, one or the other might stop flowing in, and I would lose my aluminum production. So since we're here, we're going to take a slight detour. Instead of going back to the base where the batteries get made. So this is the hypertube that goes back to that little clubhouse up there, the little workshop I had. This is going out. This is going out to Botillion's factory. Again, he made this hypertube. It's convenient. And this is going way out. So he needed bauxite, so he's tapping off and built this giant conveyor that follows the hypertube. So this is quite a construction project he made for himself. I think his dream was to have it all connected with the trains. That kind of just never really happened. You can see sulfur. He's really got his own kind of self-contained factory out here. It's making everything up to like heavy modular frames, and he's got aluminum. So I built this little clubhouse. Again, these, I don't know, they're kind of convenient as little way stations for the hypertubes. This one just goes down. Get it on the party deck here. We'll get to that in a minute. So he built his own refinery over here, which this is like kind of more like how my old refinery looked, although this is actually a little bit maybe even better than my old refinery looked. And this is we were just being silly here. We just made the water come up to this crazy pipe, and it comes back down. But I actually started making, you really don't need turbo fuel for most things. There's very few items that you actually need turbo fuel for, but I decided to start making it. I think mostly so that I could try out some of the different types of ammunition. And again, back in Update 5, there were no different types of ammunition. It was all just standard ammo, which I was producing back at my main factory. But they changed the recipes for the different ammunition, so I had to build an ammunition factory. So I am tapping off. You know, I could have built it back at my my main site, but there are all these wonderful resources here that aren't really being used for anything. He just made more and more complex stuff until he got to the heavy modular frames, and he's just sinking them over here, which is great. Gives me plenty of tickets. So what I ended up doing is because I needed more aluminum production. He's actually doing quite a bit of aluminum production here. So I made a few minor modifications to his factory, and I tap off. I put this thing up here. I don't know a good place to put it. I tap off a bunch of the excess aluminum, and I used a bunch of other resources like plastic and sulfur to make batteries here. This is actually not my main battery production. It's only to power this drone pad, which I built this to bring aluminum back to my main factory. That's why I put the sign here, just in case he came back and was like, "Where did this thing come from? Why are you taking all this aluminum out of my factory?" Yeah, don't even worry about it, buddy. But I didn't come here to show you that. What I came here to show you is the ammunition factory. So let's go back up to the little workshop here. Here, there's another hyper tube that just takes us over to the ammunition factory. So let's do that. So you can see that train station does nothing. Maybe someday we'll have it all connected up. So you can see I piped. I just ran all the stuff you need for ammunition up here to my totally safe ammunition factory, which is a limited liability corporation. Just so you know, there is absolutely, positively, no smoking in the ammunition factory. So this is pretty simple. All the resources come in here. Right? This is your standard stuff, right? You just make black powder, but then you used to be able to use the black powder to make ammunition, but now you have to combine that with the heavy oil residue to make smokeless powder. And this is one of the few places I didn't want to have to truck in oil residue from my other refinery to make ammunition. So since we already had all this stuff out here, this is why I decided to make the ammunition factory. So then, right, copper sheets, now you can make rifle ammo. And this is the one place where I'm still bringing stuff in by hand, just because I don't need a ton of homing ammo. The homing ammo is what I like to use. I bring the high-speed connectors in by hand to build to make the homing ammo. That's something I could probably do by drone. I could probably put some high-speed connectors, pipe them into my battery factory, because that's where I believe. No, actually, it goes to my main factory. So yeah, I'd have to bring the high-speed connectors from my main factory out to here. I could do that, and then I'd just have to build one more conveyor that brings the high-speed connectors in here. But I just don't use ammo that fast that I ever need to do that. Oh yeah, if you want some free ammo. So I got I made the turbo rifle ammo. Not a huge fan of it. And some regular rifle ammo. But yeah, I end up I bring the finished homing ammo back by hand as well. So that's the ammo factory. Have a nice day. So going back. I have another, just like a little camp, like way out there. We're not gonna go there today because it's not producing anything. It's just a place where I've got power out coming from geothermal spigots. So I have a little outpost out there, but it's not really doing anything. So we're gonna head back to the aluminum factory. You can see I got some geothermal out there. Yeah, there's a place, if you wanted to make yet another factory, there's a spot out there, like in this biome, way out here. you could. There's some good land out here, but the terrain is not all that amenable to having a giant factory built. I guess you could build something like out here, but then you need like some long conveyors. But this would be a place. This is if I wanted to start over again, and you know, do things at what I would consider to be at like a higher difficulty level. I might start out here. There's some good stuff though. This is obviously right, giant open space. You can build a nice big factory out here. You would just need some. Build a train out here or whatever. That could be cool. This is my other little outpost though. So let's jump back in the tube. So yeah, there's a lot of different resources you need for battery production. That's one of the more complicated things to produce. So you need the aluminum. I'm pretty sure you need the alumina solution. That's why that's coming out there. You need sulfur and water. So I do that, and I need it for a bunch of things, and I don't want to have to cart it using other transportation. So I build all the batteries, or most of the batteries, back at my main factory. So we'll go see that. We're gonna take one last pit stop before we go back to the main factory, though. That's for nitrogen, which that's one of the like last things you need to harvest. One of the last like natural resources. You can see I built these little tiny walls here. That's because occasionally you get shot out of one of these tubes and just get popped into the other tube. And as you can tell, it takes a little while to take some of these rides. So if you accidentally went out that tube that we just came from, that's like kind of a long ride to go out and then come back again. So one day I was like, I've just had enough of this. Oh, now we're experiencing what I consider to be one of the bugs in the game. It seems to only happen in this biome where the music just kind of like starts and stops. Cuts in and out. Again, we love routing the hypertubes through the poison gas. It's just a thing that he likes to do. I don't mind. It's one of the few ways to see the poison gas up close without dying. So, I don't know if I'm going to be able to see the nitrogen plant from here, but I'm going to try. I don't have like, oh yeah, it's right there. Alright, I don't have like a hypertube or anything that goes there, so we just got to do this the old-fashioned way. And I'm not going to drive out there because it's easy to get lost, so I'm just going to use the jetpack. So yeah, I'm just going to do this. Here you get a good view of the bridge. You can see, man, I spent way more time than I needed to making that look good, right? The foundation goes all the way to the riverbed or whatever, right? Looks good though. To me, it's worth it. I don't know what happened here. Oh, it's just a vine. I thought that was a power cable. So this is where my nitrogen plant is, named after my buddy Neva. Neva's natural nitrogen, as opposed to Botilion's bauxite bonanza. As you can see, this is also a wholly owned subsidiary of Frobozz Industries. He's got his own parking spot. I don't know if there's a door out here. I don't think there is. So before we take a tour here, I just want to show you where the nitrogen is coming from. Right. Source the nitrogen from this resource node right here, right? So you have to build the this thing is like a pressurizer, right? What do they call this thing? It is a it is a pressurizer. And then so that thing doesn't actually take anything out. That builds pressure in the resource nodes, and then you have these extractors. And so they're all connected. Did I need to connect all of them? Am I taking that much nitrogen out? Not really. But it looks cool. That's why I did it. So then, if we step into Neva's natural nitrogen, you see it's just the pipe comes in through the wall, and then we got a packager. And this is a closed loop. Since none of these bottles ever get consumed, I don't have to make any more bottles than I have. So the drone just sits at my factory until it's got a bunch of empties, and then it comes out here, drops all the empties off, and then this thing fills back up again with full ones. I got some marketing here for anyone who's, thinking about getting into nitrogen. Gift shop. I don't even know how I did this, but it looks awesome. Somewhere I have an animated GIF of these things going around forever. So this is very simple. And then this goes by drone to my main factory. So I gotta figure out where the train station is. Oh, okay. It's over here. I always liked this biome. Big trees. It's just a nice, peaceful place to be. Well, once you've murdered all of the wildlife around here. All that sign says, that was hard. It was hard to get up there, so I made a sign that says Yitzy was here. Uh-oh. We got company. Look at that thing. It was running on the train track. Oh my gosh! Holy crap! That was awesome. That thing did a freaking suicide jump off a cliff just because it wanted to kill me so bad. So we could either go back up this way. I actually made a power line that goes up like this, almost for the sole purpose of. I mean, I could have got power there a bunch of different ways, but I did it so that you can use the. If you have the hover pack, you can go up that line. Let's see how close the train is. The train is nowhere to be found. Oh, it's coming up. We could wait. We could wait for a moment. Well, we experience a beautiful moon set and sunrise, which we can't see because we're in depths of a giant valley. So I can explain what's going on here at the train station, right? So the train station is taking in all the stuff that that gets produced over in the quartz outpost, and it's also taking in the empties, right, from the unpackager. And then when the train arrives, it's bringing in packaged fuel to run the truck station. And these fuel burners, of course, these generators, but like I said, they don't really have to be here. I just have them here for historical purposes. Oh, I hear the train now. By itself. So now we've picked up our cargo. We got to get this stuff back to the main factory. Now, but before we do, we're gonna have one extra stop to make. I need to clean up some of these trees right there in the way. Not really, just for aesthetic purposes. Here we go. This train gets I'll tell you what, it was. I somewhat lament the fact that we got the train here, because it was a lot of fun to drive. So we stop here and pick up some delicious uranium. And I think as long as I'm inside the train, I don't get irradiated, which is nice. Sounds like there's some kind of creature in here. Yep, I see the spiders. But spiders don't bother the train. So that thing, the output of that, you can see I got some important signage there, right? That radiation station. So the output of that, which we'll see in a moment. Gotta go back up this hill. Unfortunately, we don't go up the hill nearly as fast as we can. So that, when this thing makes its loop to go back towards outpost, that's where this guy pulls in here. We'll get out here. And tiny bit of rage in here, but not too much. So wait till this thing's done so you can see where everything goes. So as you can see, the uranium is going that way. That's where the nuclear power plant is. We'll see that in a moment. And then everything else will come out and go to the left. And it goes back to where the truck station is. And I'll hitch a ride on this conveyor. Ooh, it's kind of poisonous. And this rejoins, right, this other conveyor. And all the raw quartz goes into the battery factory. You'll see why in a moment. As you can see, there's a few of the empties, right? Empty containers come back. Probably shouldn't be over here. Sorry for poison. But then the processed quartz and the silica, they go this way and they go back into that conveyor maze, right, that you saw earlier. So let's follow the raw quartz to. Oh, here comes the autosave. Jacob's Battery Extravaganza, which, as you may have guessed, is a wholly owned subsidiary of Frobozz Industries. That, of course, being Frobozz Industries. So, yep, let's get in there. So here's the battery factory. This is another, I'm pretty proud of this one. The layout of this is pretty good. I had a lot of space to work with, so I was able to get it, you know, looking nice and organized. So the reason I bring the raw quartz over here is I wanted to make sure my silica was being produced at the exact correct rate to go back to the aluminum factory. And so I'm metering that out as well as this coal. As you know, the coal is the coal gets dumped. The excess coal gets dumped into the coal burners and the sink. But this was a way to ensure I was getting the right amount of silica into the factory. And as you can see, right, we've got the aluminum casings. The packaged alumina solution and raw aluminum ingots. The aluminum casings. Go here to make batteries. The alumina solution. Also needed to make batteries. We also need, I think this is sulfuric acid. So this is, yep. And we make that from sulfur that comes through a very long conveyor belt. Let's see if I jump up here. A very long conveyor belt from over yonder. And this is again, if you played this game at all, down there was probably, that was the first place I found sulfur. It may or may not have been the first place you found sulfur. And so all the excess ingots, or the aluminum ingots, right, that weren't used to make the aluminum casings for batteries. They all come out. They get split off here onto the overflow conveyor. That leaves here along with the batteries, right? So batteries come out of here. This is worth mentioning, right? So you need the batteries to run the drones. So the first thing that happens is the batteries that come out of here, they hang a left so that you can run the drone station. And then every excess battery jumps on this conveyor belt, which is where the aluminum ingots come out as well. Oh yeah, we can watch this happen. One of the drones is coming in now. Stuff hits the splitter, right? So all the aluminum's going out that way. All the aluminum solution comes out onto that conveyor belt. The casing's going onto that conveyor belt. So follow this stuff. I guess we can just oh yeah. So as excess batteries come out here, they go into this thing just so you can charge into this truck station. No, there are no trucks that actually stop here. This is just if you had a car that was running on batteries like mine does, you can just drive it up here and it gets you back to the full number of batteries in the quote-unquote fuel tank, right? But yeah, follow this thing up here. Yep, there's an excess battery right there. And that goes in here. I don't know if I can get in here. No, because that's going like straight to the splitter. So I'm gonna cheese it and yep. Roof. Stairs to go down, or do I just like jump? I do. I built stairs. So as you can see, right, there's the conveyor that all the aluminum and the batteries come in on. So they come in here. They come up this lifter, right? These aluminum ingots are actually the ones that come from Botillion's factory. But they all get aggregated into this storage container. Right? All the extras get sunk. So yeah, all the batteries come in. The batteries split off here, go into this thing, and then they get used for various other products, right? So this is where like a lot of the advanced stuff is up here. So you can see we have aluminum production going this way. So even though I was making some aluminum casings on site at the aluminum factory, I make more of them here locally because they have to get combined with copper, right? Oh, this is an alternate, yeah. So this is an alternate recipe, which is more efficient by combining copper, which I don't have at the aluminum factory, right? So that's why we do that here. And this is where the nitrogen ends up. So yeah, I should show you that. Let's go back to where my stairs are. So this is where the nitrogen is. So as you can see, there's so much nitrogen here that this drone can't offload its cargo, which is a good thing, right? Because that keeps it from flying back and forth forever, right? Burning batteries that it doesn't need to. So when this gets low enough, this drone can offload its nitrogen tanks, and then it'll grab all the empties that have accumulated in here, and it'll fly back to the nitrogen plant. So that works very well. This is the drone port that goes back to Fotillion's factory, and that's bringing back mostly aluminum. It might in fact all be aluminum. But if I wanted to bring back ammo, that would be right. I could do it through this port here. This is all just excess stuff that I'm sinking. That originally it would go to this drone port or one of these drone ports and go to the space elevator. That's why that stuff is coming through here now. But since I am done putting stuff on the space elevator, since I'm done with the space elevator mission, so now we're kind of getting to the fun stuff. So with all the aluminum and the nitrogen and everything, you can start making some of the more exotic products, which allow you to run a nuclear power plant. Now, there's a lot that goes into the nuclear power plant. I'm not necessarily going to get into all of it, but before we get to the nuclear power plant, I'll just take one last little side detour here. This was really one of the last factories I built. Like, I even had the nuclear power plant before this, but I really didn't have enough circuit boards for some of the advanced stuff. And I didn't have enough quick wire, which is from the, what do they call it? Caterium? Yeah, Caterium ore. So, I just didn't have the floor space, you know, in my main factory to process all the Caterium. So, once I got the level 3 miner, I was able to split that off, as well as some iron and copper. And I made this cool factory here, so you can see all the materials come in, and I just scaled up. And this is where I really first started utilizing what people who play the game a lot would refer to as like a manifold. You bring something in, and then you just continuously like split off and pass it down, and then split off and pass it down, and then split off and pass it down. I was really just kind of forking stuff, but this is another method of redistributing resources that's it might not necessarily be the most space efficient, but it's very well organized. So you can see I'm making all the Caterium ingots here. Right? They go into this thing, and then on the lower level, I am making a ton of copper. And this is an alternate recipe. Combine iron with the copper, and you can make more copper. Copper all goes in here. I'm using some of my copper to make wire, some of my wire to make cable. Most of my copper is going upstairs. With the Caterium to make quick wire. And again, this is an alternate recipe. that just lets you make more and faster, you know, more quick wire, and you can make it faster, right, with the fewer machines. So then, as you can see, I'm making 180 quick wire per minute times 4 units. That is all going very quickly into the storage container, and splitting off the excess. And then all this Caterium is going to my main factory. But I split off some and use that to make circuit boards. And you can see again, this is an alternate recipe. So this is, I really built this like after I had unlocked like a vast majority or perhaps even all the alternate recipes. So I can make a lot of circuit boards. That was like one of the bottlenecks in my production was circuit boards. Yeah. So then taking the excess and bringing that down here. So you can see I got quick wire and circuit boards coming over here. These are all the excess circuit boards and excess quick wire, and I'm feeding that into this thing, which is making high-speed connectors. And pretty much this is what I'm using for to make the homing ammo. But all the excess, again, all the excess gets sunk over here. So anything that's excess quick wire, if this thing happens to back up, which it does occasionally, the excess quick wire goes in here. And this thing fills up with this is something. This doesn't, nothing feeds this. If I just have something that I want to sink, I just dump it into this. So it's labeled the recycle bin. If this thing backs up with circuit boards, which it very occasionally does, they sink in here, and then you can see the excess high-speed connectors, which I think at this point they are all excess because this thing is full. They sink over. See, I got a hyper tube that goes back and forth to the main factory. So actually, yeah, you know what? Let's take that. Let's take it right now. Hey, buddy. So as you can see, to make all those circuit boards, we need plastic, and that plastic is all coming from the refinery. It's coming in here on that crazy conveyor belt that like a ton of different things come in on, and then it comes out of that storage bin. It comes out here and it goes all the way over there on this conveyor belt, along with so if you look at these conveyor belts, you can see quick wire is coming in, circuit boards are coming in. Right Caterium that's not split off for that factory is coming in over here as well, but plastic is going out for that factory. And so then that massive amount of quick wire comes in over here. And it gets fed into this bin right here. And so you can see, like back in the day, I was feeding Caterium in over here and making Caterium ingots here, and for a while that was good enough. But as I needed to make more and more advanced materials, this ended up not being enough. So that's why I had to kind of build that other facility up. So yeah, it turns out you need a whole lot of different items to run a nuclear power plant, particularly if you want to run one that does not produce nuclear waste that needs to be stored. Turns out there's a way you can reprocess the nuclear waste into plutonium fuel rods, and then you can sink the plutonium fuel rods and you have no nuclear waste, which is something that cannot be sunk. Now, the thing is, you need all these different items, and I could run a whole bunch of conveyor belts out the back of this factory and run them all the way over to that nuclear power plant, but I decided not to do that. So I run all those items into this truck stop in like all these crazy proportions. Right? You need heat sinks, you need encased industrial beams, you need sulfur, you need silica, you need steel beams, you need iron plates. The fuel is just to run the truck stop. And then there's like electromagnetic control rods, which you don't need a lot of, so you don't see them very often. But they all that stuff comes from the various parts of the factory, and it all gets mixed down. You even need the nitrogen canisters. So then you can see the nitrogen gets piped all the way from where the drone comes in. It gets piped all the way down here. Those are the empties coming back. So you can see that gets mixed in here too. So if we come out here and take a peek in this truck stop before the truck gets here. Oh, the truck's picking all this stuff up, so that's okay. The truck waits here for a minute, so we won't get run over. That's cool. And you can see all these different items all come to the back of the truck. Yeah, I'm not gonna wait for the truck. So the truck comes down here. It goes up this ramp. So this is the conveyor belt that the uranium comes in on, which you remember from the train station. It comes up here, and it makes a little U-turn past this very important safety sign. Pulls up to this truck station, and this is where all the materials from the factory get offloaded. Oh, looks like, ooh, it's a lot of radiation. Looks like we just got a fresh load of uranium. So the uranium actually comes down and merges. It goes through the truck station, and it comes out. So everything that comes in on this conveyor belt. So the uranium comes out here. It gets split out. You can see there's I'm making there's a limestone node over here. So I'm making concrete on site. So that mixes in. The uranium goes into this bin. It goes in here. This is where we make cells. This is just a buffer. This thing never actually fills up because this is all tuned to run into rate, right? In case uranium cells get mixed in with these control rods and the beams to make uranium fuel rods. And the uranium fuel rods go into this bin. As you can see, this is a absolute shit ton of radiation. Like, if you stood here, you would be dead in 5 seconds if you didn't have a radiation suit on. And if you look at the meter on the left, down in the lower left-hand corner, we are burning through iodized filters at a terrifying rate. So you really don't want to stand here too long. But fuel rods go in, right? This thing is cranking. It takes a whole bunch of water. The water comes from extractors over that way. As you can see, there's plenty of water right over here. Yeah. So then this thing makes waste. And the waste comes out, and some of it goes in here to make plutonium pellets. The rest of it comes down here to make non-fissile uranium. The non-fissile uranium goes in here to recombine with this uranium waste to make plutonium pellets. Then the plutonium pellets, there's a fresh batch right now. Plutonium pellets come down here and combine with concrete to make encased plutonium cells, and then encased plutonium cells go into this bad boy right here, which has to be combined with electromagnetic control rods and heat sinks and steel beams to make a plutonium fuel rod. And after all that work, plutonium fuel rod comes out and goes into the sink. We don't do anything with it. Well, we get a ton of points to make bombs, but yeah, we don't burn it, because that would make plutonium waste. And as of update 6, there is no way to sink plutonium waste, and I would have to put that in some container somewhere, and it would just be, yeah, that would be a problem. We wouldn't be able to run this indefinitely. That would all build up somewhere in some place that would be like even more radioactive than where we're standing right now. So yeah, that's my nuclear power plant. That's where most of my power comes from. As you can see, I also use, fuel, coal, pretty much everything but biomass to generate power. Right, geothermal. I think that's about it. I think that's about everything. So you've seen my whole factory. So with all that, I haven't gone into intricate detail about, every last item that gets produced, but pretty much every item that you need to get through every single goal for the space elevator, eventually gets produced on site here. And like I said, it can go up to that drone port, which then goes to the, at one time was going to the space elevator. So I hope you enjoyed my tour. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. No, I really don't care if you like or subscribe to this video. This is really just for my buddies. But if you're a stranger and wandered in here, thanks for coming by and checking out my factory. You will probably. Oh yeah, I should probably address this. I built the factory just a little bit too close to the poison gas. So yeah, if you stand in this corner, you actually, you start to die from poison. Fortunately, we got the gas mask on, but yeah. But I built a railing so that, you know not to stand here and get killed. But yeah, probably, I don't know, maybe if Update 7 comes out and there's some awesome new mechanics, maybe I'll do an update. But for the most part, I don't think, unless there's like something really significant, like, you know, they come out of early access and do a full release, maybe we'll, you know, maybe I'll have to start over again, right? But barring that, that's it. That's my factory. Thanks for checking it out, and I will see you in another video.